Tonight on Behind the Details with Chelsea, I'm excited to sit down with my friend Jason Otterness. We're going to get caught up on what's been going on in Jason's life over the last year. For those of you that aren't aware, he's got quite a story to tell of how he grew a hugely successful detailing shop and brand and then essentially lost it all. And now is kind of in a rebuilding phase. And so tonight I'm excited to hear a little bit about what Jason has learned and about what's next. So let's get started with the show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Details with Chelsea. So excited that you guys could join us tonight. And I am so excited to have my friend Jason Otterness. To give you guys some backstory, I met you, what was it, like 4 years ago at one of your classes, the Detail Wise Academy. You had a scholarship. I won a class, which I was like, seriously? And it was honestly a rough class for me because I ended up getting like the worst migraine ever, like the first day.
I remember that.
And ended up like sitting in my room in the dark the second day, feeling like the biggest schlub ever. And I was like, this guy's never going to talk to me ever again. I'm like, he gave me this amazing opportunity and I'm just sitting in the dark, hating myself. And somehow, like, we just continued to talk and I ended up becoming your affiliate manager for a little bit. And then we did the Creator Summit 2 years ago. Is that right?
2 years ago, yeah.
Which was life-changing for myself and so many other content creators. And hopefully we're going to do it again in the future. I don't know.
Yes, I have some plans for that, yes.
Cool. But anyways, it was just one of the most amazing opportunities and experiences to go through to get to meet some of the people that I've looked up to for years. But you've been one of those people, Jason, honestly. Like, you've been inspiring. Your story has definitely had some ups and downs. And tonight, hopefully, we're going to be able to, for those of you that don't know, hear a little bit of your story and maybe find out what's next for Jason Otterness. So welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to cry either,
I'll get tissues for it. It'll be fine. No, I actually, when you and I were talking before the show started, we never really had much opportunity to do this. And so, like, I'm excited just to kind of hang out with you and hear a little bit of your story. We always was just, it was work. You know, we're just, who's going to be this schedule, whatnot. So for those of you that have not been on YouTube in the last few years and seen Chicago Auto Pros and the monumental success that you had with YouTube, can you kind of take us back, Jason, to how all of that started? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I've always been in the industry, kind of found it when I was younger. In my teens, ended up working at a car wash and just ended up falling in love with like detailing and the car industry. I was never really into cars. That's the weird thing. I just got into detailing and I did mobile detailing for a while. Honestly, I tell people now it's like I'm just not good at anything else except cleaning cars. So I just keep on doing it. I feel blessed to be able to be in the industry. I started off in Atlanta, Georgia. I ended up moving in 2008. A lot of things were going on with the stock market and the business ended up going down, and it was a good time for me just to kind of start over doing something. Moved to Illinois, ended up meeting my business partner Greg, and we started Chicago Auto Pros, and it was awesome. It was like a dream come true building that, and we were talking a little bit about how everything is just work. It's hard work to do everything, right? So put in the time, built that, started the YouTube channel. That was one of the best decisions I've ever made, is to put myself out there, start a YouTube channel and just tell my story with cars and detailing and everything else. And we built that business and that's been all my ambition. That's always been kind of me, is I love growth. It was always getting to one milestone and then seeing what else is out there. That's really what drives me, is the journey or the path of entrepreneurship and doing the work is so interesting to me. And there's so much to learn, and around every corner, around every failed, project or business, there's always something to learn, and learned a lot doing Chicago Auto Pros. Actually, with the YouTube channel, was able to start Car Supplies Warehouse. With the following that we gained, gave me the ability to start optical and everything. And so me and my partner split up about a year and a half ago, and now he owns Chicago Auto Pros and I own Car Supplies Warehouse and optical. And it's given me a fresh start to be able to think about things that happened in the past that didn't work, or mistakes, and be able to implement new ideas and a new foundation. And right now we're actually expanding. What we have here is, I'm at the Bays. We're expanding this area into full service work again. So my heart has always been in doing the work. I love working with my hands, getting dirty and doing the work. And I'm back into that now. And we've just opened a couple months ago and have had several cars. It's literally just me and another detailer that I've worked with for 8 years. He was a manager at Chicago Auto Pros, and now he's here detailing with me. And it's awesome. It's fun. It's exciting. And for me as a business owner, entrepreneur, that's always the exciting part, is building it up and watching it grow and being able to put in that time.
For you, when it comes to, I mean, you're essentially restarting. You had one shop and it was a smaller, like, one bay garage, correct? When you first started?
Chicago Auto Pros, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then you grew it to 3 locations, multiple employees, a ton of overhead, and just the responsibilities that was there. Like, how hard is it for you to go from that large of a scale to kind of, I don't want to say humble beginnings again, but kind of bringing it back down to, your roots?
Yeah, we went from at the peak, 65 employees, just under $10 million in revenue per year. That's also with Car Supplies Warehouse, but we're doing 5 million just in detailing with the 2 shops. I mean, it was surreal. It was a dream. It was like you put in all this hard work and it
Hmm.
paid off. It was so awesome. To have that go away, it's been extremely hard. The last year and a half has been the toughest time I have ever been through, and certainly have learned a ton about people, about the legal system, and about myself. And I wouldn't take any of it back either. It has been an absolute, it's like one of those things where it's like tough to go through, but it's like you need to go through it. It's some of those hard lessons that are only learned through sacrifice or pain, and absolutely amazing to come out of it and to still have this drive and still have this passion to be able to go forward. I still consider myself pretty young. I'm 41 years old, right? So it's not like
It's
I'm
like 50 in detailing years, though. So,
yeah, but it's not like I'm starting over either, right? Car
yeah,
Supplies Warehouse it was
true.
very established. I have a building. I have, a lot of knowledge with the YouTube channel and everything that I did. So I'm obviously going to be able to do it a lot faster and quicker. So,
What are some of those lessons that you alluded to that you learned through all of this process?
um, a ton of lessons, a lot to do with people. So a little backstory, like anybody who sees me now, who knew me like back in high school or in my 20s, is always very, very surprised to see me doing a YouTube channel or doing any of this. Like literally, I remember in high school, I was so shy, so quiet, so reserved. There was days that I would literally not say a word through the entire day. I was just so. I think a lot of it was anxiety, social anxiety, the fear of embarrassment, and I thought, instead of putting myself out there and risking to even talk to anybody, I was like, if I just fly under the radar, I won't ever have to fear or feel that embarrassment or feel like the eyes are on me. So literally in most social settings, I am extremely, extremely quiet.
Yes, you are. I can vouch for that.
And so it's always weird for people when they meet me, especially when they have watched the YouTube channel
Hmm.
and I'm talking about what I know. So detailing has given me that confidence to be able to, talk about the things that I love, which are business and detailing and cleaning and just teaching that. So some of the lessons that I've learned is. I've never been that great of a communicator or that great of with people, and that's been my whole life. And it's not like something I didn't know, but you step into these roles sometimes that you are a leader and you have to be a leader, and sometimes you're trying to be somebody who you're not, right? And I think for me, I've kind of learned that, you know what, I'm just not that great of communicating of what's going on in my head. I think a lot of times my head is moving so fast that a lot of times that I can't even understand it, and let alone try to communicate that to the people working around me. Has been very difficult. So for me, it's finding the right people who can understand who I am and where I'm coming from, because I tend to move very quickly, and I am just somebody who is just not that social or good at communicating. So by having somebody who's very understanding with me and being able to understand who I really am and what I really feel, explaining that vision to people and knowing and gaining and making sure that they can trust that I am always trying to do the best I can for the company, myself, my family, and the business and everything like that. So knowing, and I kind of feel like I have to explain that to people sometimes when they first come in, and let them know that we've been talking about this in the business now, and there's people who love to have a plan, that love to want to make sure that they know everything that it could possibly happen. And I am the complete opposite, where I believe in myself enough to where I will figure out as I go, right? Like it is so important for me to just start something. Nothing has to be perfect for me to get started, because I believe even the planning sometimes can bring up things like, if you have this grand plan, it doesn't give you adaptability to be able to change, right? So you are usually stuck in something. And for me, I've always had the attitude of like, well, let's not plan too much, because we might have to adapt or change the path real quickly. So that's kind of always been my MO, of like, let's just get into it. Let's just throw it out there, and we will adapt or adjust as needed. And that drives a lot of people crazy.
Yeah, I
you
can
know?
imagine. And it probably, like, for me, I'm a planner. So, and I think that's why you and I sometimes were like not the best
Yeah,
with communicating, because I want to know, like, we've thought through all the variables. And it sounds like to me you're not afraid of failure. Like, I know you enough that failure is not an option. But at the same time, like, in my mind, if you're starting something and you don't really know what the outcome is gonna be, at some point you gotta say, like, we might fail, and we're gonna learn through failure, and then we're gonna adapt and keep moving. I think that's kind of what you've done in this moment. You didn't fail. You
right.
just, all right, that door kind of closed. Now we're gonna adjust and pivot, you know?
There's a part of that in order to build something big like we had with Chicago Water Pros, I'm really proud of what I did there. There is a certain amount of risk that you have to take to go that way, right? Because
Yeah.
there's just more fundamental risk the bigger you go, and the more expenses, payroll, everything that you have. Like something bad, like the I can't even remember what it's called. The virus.
COVID?
COVID. I always say
The
COVID
word?
for some reason. But that, that having such a lot of people lost their businesses during that time, especially restaurants. And, but like, it was actually really well for the detailing industry because people were not spending money on,
And we were essential.
exactly. And they had more money to be able to spend on cars and stuff like detailing. It was actually really good, but that could have been disastrous for a business, especially a business that has that much exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Though that, two buildings, two massive buildings, a lot of staff, there's just slight variances that can change, that can throw that type of business into a spiral. So it's big risk, big reward. And that's how I've always been. And that is one of the reasons why Chicago Auto Pros was able to grow that big, because we were taking big risks and I was leading that. And, eventually that becomes a double-edged sword, right? Like I kept on doubling down. We doubled down with Car Supplies Warehouse. I doubled down with optical. And really that was the demise of my partnership. It was too much, right? Like it was, when is enough, right? And for myself, that's the double-edged sword of you being successful, being able to build something like that takes an immense amount of risk, and I'm willing to do that. But you also have people to have people who can give you the professional challenge on the other side. And I think that's a lot of what I've naturally done, is build it and be able to take a risk and be able to punch it in there and go through it. But certainly there's another side to it that has to be ran and managed and thought about, and data-driven decisions. And because the risks involved with growing that fast and growing that big, there's just a lot there.
Where do you think, like, have you always had that drive in you? Like, has that always been there? Where does that come from? And like for those like me who don't have that drive, like what's your advice for people, maybe employees or people who have a smaller shop that they're not as motivated as you? Like, what advice would you give them to get that drive or learn how to have that drive? Can you learn it even?
Sure, I think you could. I think there's certain things that happen in your life that give you purpose or meaning. And I think that's where a lot of drive comes from. In my early 20s, I was in a band. I was a small engine mechanic. I didn't have a lot of drive then. Literally, my drive started when I got into detailing. It was one of those things that just, like, it was love at first sight. When I first, and I told this on another podcast, like when I first started doing mobile detailing, I thought that nobody else did it. I thought I was like, I'm going to go to people's houses and stuff. And so literally did not sleep for 3 days. Once that idea was in my head, I could not stop thinking about it. I was planning, I was researching, I'm looking at vacuums, I'm looking at detailing chemicals, vans, how do I do this? I'm making brochures, I'm coming up with names. Literally, I could not sleep for 3 days. It was one of those things. And so that's what gave me my drive to be able to do that. Now, this is deep, right? Because part of my drive comes from family, some of my childhood, some of my growing up. My dad is still around, but he was never really there as a father to me. We didn't have a great relationship. So I think part of my drive is my emotional need to show people that I am worthy of love. And so it's something that it maybe has become an addiction of working and pushing and seeing how successful I can be. I think that's part of it. I absolutely do love doing this. And I think after doing it for so long, you kind of get into this state of wanting more. So yes, I think it can be discovered. I think you can certainly find things or discover things in your life that you end up having a lot of passion for. And I think this could be true of anything, helping people, starting a charity or something. There's a lot of things that, people come into the purpose even a lot later in life and start to have that flame within them that burns for wanting to do something and wanting to do something more with their life. But it is also one of those things where it is a double-edged sword, so I myself, getting into a little bit of mental health, like I've always dealt with anxiety issues, just like constantly my brain does not shut off. And I don't know if it is, it's hard for us to step into somebody else's shoes and to know what's normal or what's not normal. But for me, like my brain never shuts up, and I don't know if that's the same for everybody
ADHD.
else, but it is just like constantly going, like, to where even at night it's just like I will replay just things that happen through the day. Like I'm thinking I have done full menus service menus in my head, calculating prices for like.
You need to get some magnesium in your diet, Jason.
Amy's got me, and my wife has got me doing some magnesium and everything. But it's one of those things where it is a blessing and a curse at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your drive can push you. It's emotional a lot of times. You're passionate, and that is good when you can get it in control and you know when to use it and when you know to turn it off. And if you're even able to turn it off, right? And so kind of that drive that has been pushing me to do everything kind of was the thing that can actually end up hurting you as well. So I've done a lot of thinking about how do I utilize this passion? When can I turn it on and can I turn it off? Oftentimes, I go on vacation and it's very hard for me to even turn it off. And I think that's a common trait with a lot of entrepreneurs. They enjoy what they do and they want to work. And so it's even hard for them to turn it off when they go on vacations and do that kind of stuff.
How do you balance that with a family, that drive? Because, you have two beautiful daughters. You have a very supportive wife. Amy, if you're watching, I love you. I miss you. Hopefully she's watching. But I can imagine, like, being a wife, hearing if my husband had that same drive. There's got to be a lot of trust that I've got your back. I'm there with you. It can be a little scary though, because I know that there's probably been some financial stresses that this has put upon you guys that just adds a whole nother element of like do or die. Like
Yeah.
I'm your ride or die in this moment. But like how do you balance that with a family and even a marriage? Like Amy, I know is a amazingly strong person, but like I don't feel like just anybody could handle someone with that kind of a drive. Like how do you think Amy, I know she's not here, but like
Yeah. Well, I don't hate. I just like the word balance, because oftentimes we're always searching for a balance, and really life's not about balance. There's always going to be times where you're just not going to have balance. So with that, there is sacrifice, right? It has not been easy. Amy is absolutely amazing for sticking with me through this entire thing. Like Amy is literally the person who gave the money to me to start this everything, right? She helped me get my first van, vacuum, and all that stuff, right? So she's been through every step of the way, and absolutely there has been some tremendous stressful times going through this, and she is stuck with me the entire time, and extremely thankful for that. But there is some sacrifice that you make as an entrepreneur, and you have to be okay with that. That's one of the first lessons that I teach within my business class is entrepreneurs have to have a different mindset. We start a business because we want to create a better life for ourselves and our family and our friends around us, right? We want to feel satisfied doing something, but there are sacrifices that need to be made to accomplish that dream of having that freedom of choice. That's really what we're chasing. We're chasing the freedom to be able to make the choices with our time and financially being able to have that financial freedom to be able to do those things, right? Like I want to travel, I want to create these great experiences. but we have to sacrifice sometimes to get there. And that's the scary part that I've been thinking about a lot, because I've been sacrificing for a very long time, and is it ever going to get to the point where even, you're able to step back and be able to take that freedom that you've created from your business, because you've created financial freedom, to be able to do those things? And is it too late? Right, my kids are, my oldest is in college, youngest one is 13. There are plenty times where I have missed volleyball games or basketball games, and you have to be okay with that. I myself just have to know that I have to schedule time with the family, and I do that. And my wife is very understanding, that she knows that I won't be able to make every single game. I won't be able to be there for every single one, but I will be there for as many as I can. And your significant other has to understand that. And right. And I know that you live for your kids, and a lot of parents, want to be there and should be there for every single game. I know for myself, I grew up a little bit different, right? My mom had me when she was very young. My dad really wasn't there. I was in sports the whole time. I never had parents at a sporting events or anything like that. So it's different for me as I'm teaching my own kids, because I grew up kind of independent, very, my mom was always there, but she was working. She was a single mother raising 2 kids, so she was doing what she needed to do there. So she also made that sacrifice for me and my sister as kids, right? There's a lot of times we're alone. So it's kind of, and I love that I grew up like that, because it made me independent. It gave me the ability to know that I can make the decisions and do things. If I want something, I make that decision to make it happen, right? Because I had to. Literally, I had to make my own dinners and get up for school with an alarm clock, because my mom was already at work in the morning, So we had to do those things. And I kind of, I've raised my kids kind of the same way, or, with some independence for them to be able to make their own decisions on what they need to do. But it is certainly hard. And I think for any entrepreneur, you do have to decide, especially if you go into business, that sometimes you have to know that you are going to have to sacrifice some time with your family. And I think that's just a part of it.
You mentioned your business class. Are you still doing classes with Detail Wise Academy?
A little bit. I've certainly slowed down on a lot. Just kind of honestly just picking up the pieces for a lot of things, and getting the right people in the right positions. I don't have any business classes scheduled, but we do have PPF classes that we do every month, and I've added a 1-day optional business class onto that. So it'll be kind of an informal sit down optional for anybody who's taken our PPF class, and talk about networking, sales, setting up prices, any of that stuff. And so that's kind of where I've thrown it in.
So let's talk about detailing now, what it's like for you. You have what, 3 bays at the Bays right now, or is it 4?
We have 3.
Okay.
3
And
wash bays.
did you already move the warehouse to the new location, or is that coming?
We're moving in on Saturday. So yeah, that was a little confused. I put a post out there like, where are you moving to? We're not moving the Bays. The Bays is actually staying here. We're actually expanding the Bays.
Yeah.
So right now we just have 3 wash bays. And originally when I got this building, it's half warehouse. So it's a 10,000 square foot building. Like 4,000 of it is warehouse. The other half is the bays, the retail store, some offices, and the training room that we have here. So the Car Supply's warehouse is absolutely packed, right? And I want to be able to move into full service, and we don't have any room to do full service. So it came up literally right across the parking lot. I'm pointing to it, but you don't know what's over there. There's a long, you were here, that long building over there. So just half of that building came up for lease. And
that's perfect.
Yeah, it's 7,000 square feet. So it's a little more for the warehouse, move that all over there. And then we'll have more room here for doing paint protection film, window tint, and ceramic coating. So super excited to have some space,
Yeah.
because it's very tight here right now, especially for people coming into the Bays. We just kind of scrunched everything in here, and I'm excited to open it up. And actually, the general manager who ran the entire sales for Chicago Auto Pros for 6 or 7 years just started with me about 3 weeks ago, and
It's
it's
awesome.
been
He
awesome.
knows your communication
Yep,
style.
yep. We always worked great together. And he's here just helping me set up all the, like, your able was already kind of there, but he really dove in and got it all set up with all the email triggers and reminders and everything that's going on with that. And we're a month out. It's only me and one other guy, so it's not hard to like get a month out. But now I've hired one guy who's actually going to start in May. So now it's time to just kind of build up our reputation, start doing a lot more videos, and get to a place kind of like where we were, because the Bays is a franchise, and we have 3 more stores opening up, and so there's a ton of exciting stuff that's happening with this. And it's a little nerve-wracking too, because you're getting into that position where it's like getting bigger again, and I'm like, okay, do I have it right this time? Do I have the foundation? Do I have the mental capacity and everything to be able to do this again? And I'm excited for it. But yeah, the warehouse part is moving over to, it's just like 300 feet.
Does it feel like before when you were expanding and growing, or does it feel different?
Yeah, it feels the same. It
Yeah.
feels, that excitement's there, of getting stuff put together. Businesses always, the business is just solving problems, and who can ever solve the problems better than the other guy is going to be the more successful business, right? So there's always problems, and I've always loved the challenges of figuring out problems. And now the problems are easier to solve because we've already been through it, right? Like, oh, hey, yeah, we need the terms and conditions agreement so the customers can sign. We can cover ourselves for all the things that could happen, window tinting or doing paint protection film. Awesome. We already know that. We don't have to go through those hard lessons anymore. So I can just solve those problems a little faster now.
What did you learn back then that is making it easier now beyond just kind of, I know you just referred terms and conditions, but like, what do you feel like you're going to be able to do better this time?
Um,
Or you're going to do it the same old, just this time it's a little
no,
wiser, Jason?
it is wiser. It is the culture of the team. It is, if you want to scale a business, it is all about having the right people in. So great communication. We have a foundation that we've set up, to be able to have good communication. Like, it's never going to be perfect, right? You're always going to have maybe somebody that's not in the right person in the company, or for some reason, but it's about communication. It's about getting the right people on board. And I think that's where I'm just trying to better myself, and being able to express who I am, knowing that I kind of run my life emotionally, and knowing who I am, and um, being able to control that a little more, right? Because when you get into things, you get passionate, you get driven. So it's about getting the right people, and really building the foundation for scaling a business. And we had some of that in Chicago Auto Pros. We had some of that, right? We did have a lot of standard operating procedures. We did have a lot of great things, and this is the challenge. And I don't know how to. This is going to be one of the biggest things going forward. Is the people aspect of a business is the hardest thing for everybody, right? Whether it's just hiring a couple technicians or hiring a manager. I've talked to so many people in the last year who have similar stories about managers or business partner people and stuff like that. So my next thing is to learn how to structure the people part of the business. And I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I may fail at it, but I'm excited to at least attempt it and to get that down, because that's been one of the biggest challenges of my entire life is connecting with people, being able to communicate with them properly, to be able to share the vision, to build the vision. And for a long time, everybody's always told me I'm so intimidating because I am so driven, and I can oftentimes just get so this narrow focus where it's like I have these blinders on, and I'm like, well, we have to do this thing to be able to get to here, to get to there, so we got to do it right now. And it's oftentimes left people, feeling confused or intimidated, or that they can't keep up, or a lot of different things, right? So that's my personal journey, is just figuring out how to work with people a lot better.
Westcat 2 had a question. Can you tell if an employee will or will not work out by the first day?
No, that's hard.
Do you have like a probation period normally that you work with someone for the first time? Like, what does it look like for you when you're hiring a new employee?
Right now, hiring new employees, it's work with them, for weeks, sometimes even months before you even hire them. And I've done that several times now with some new hires and stuff. This is a hard thing, right? Because it's so hard. There's certain questions that you can ask and put in different situations to be able to see how they would react in that situation, right? You can kind of play out scenarios and say, hey, okay, here it is, right? You're a manager. This is what's going on. How do you handle it, right? And you can kind of get some ideas of how that person is going to react to a situation. There's also a lot of like personality tests and DISC tests that are very good out there too, to kind of understand somebody's personality and how well you're going to connect or work with that person too. But I've had a lot of people work with me that I thought were going to be fantastic, which end up being, not working out for whatever reason. The same thing. I've had a lot of people that I'm like, yeah, I don't have a lot of expectations for this guy, and they end up being some of the best employees. I think it does take time to get to know somebody, but I think also if you have the right structure as a company, if you have a right training program, if you have the right motivation, if you have the right standard operating procedures, I think it's the responsibility of the owner to make sure that employee has everything that they need to be successful in the organization. And a lot of times it's not the person, it's the system that is the failure point when it comes to getting the right people, right? Because we are all human. And if we start to feel like we're not needed, or it's confusing, or you don't know what to do, or you're not wanted in an organization, that's when people can kind of show their other side. And it might not even be their true selves. It's just they're not getting what they need from the organization, right? So that in that sense, there are I think there's a ton of great people out there, right? And we always hear it as business owners, like, I cannot find anybody who wants to work. I cannot find anybody but I think a lot of times we have to look back at ourselves and what are we doing to make sure that we are giving that employee everything absolutely that they need to be successful in a situation. And there are times where you're just not going to meet up, right? I've had it even several times in just the near future where it's like, we've done everything we could, and it's not there,
What would you say is like the determining factor for when someone should hire an employee?
You don't have to hire a full-time employee. Everybody thinks that you have to hire a full-time employee. I have a strong belief in capacity, right? So whether you have a shop that's 4,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet, you have a certain amount of capacity that you have. And your number one job is to fill that job to capacity. And or yourself at capacity. So knowing where your capacity is, what you have available, and what you can do. I'm a strong believer in subcontracting and getting people in there until you have the work where you can hire a full-time person, or hire a part-time person that can come in on weekends, part-times. And it may not be the person that it will ever be full-time too, but you need to get to a point, and sometimes you can hire that full-time person and it gives you that motivation that you need to be able to fill the schedule too. But it is one of those things where it never feels like the right time. You just kind of have to prepare yourself as much as you can, and know that you're going to have to do a little more marketing. And this is the scary part. Like, once you get to 2, 3, 4 employees, like, you get to a point where, like, oh, I have to hire somebody just to do phone calls now. And now you're like, well, that means I have to do a lot more work to cover their labor costs. So I need to hire another technician to do more work. And it's like this snowball that kind of happens where you're like, because there was times with Chicago Auto Pros even that there was months where we lost money, and that hurts. And that is the risk reward factor too. When you grow, there is an opportunity to make a lot more money, but that risk of losing money, if you have a bad month, or even a bad week, that just kind of destroys the whole thing. Where you keep it small, you have a lot more control. And that's what's easy for the detailing industry, is to stay small and to have that schedule out 2, 3 months, and have that stability to know that, hey, even if I'm just by myself or I'm just with one other person, I know that I can do enough to cover my expenses pretty well, right? And so, one, you have to think about if you want to go that direction, because hiring an employee, scaling, is the hardest thing that you will do in your entrepreneur life. It's just scaling it with the people. You have to. There's just people can. I have a saying. There's business owners and there's entrepreneurs. I think anybody can become a business owner. I think anybody can open a business. I think business owners, no disrespect to anybody, you are creating a job for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's probably a lot better than working for somebody else, is creating yourself a job as a business owner. But I believe entrepreneurs are something a little bit different, because entrepreneurs are the guys and gals that are trying to build a business that is going to live beyond them, building something that they could literally walk away from, and it still runs the same without them. And entrepreneurship is the systems and process and the building of making that run without you. And that is the hard part, because you're depending on people, you're depending on your software, you're depending on your systems and processes to be able to make that work. And that is the huge challenge of growing and scaling a business.
And look at you doing it now a second time.
Yeah, because I love it, or I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know.
It's probably the latter. So now you are at the Bays Car Supplies Warehouse. You also have Optical Film. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you have managed to take the Bays from, and maybe explain the concept of the Bays to those that aren't familiar, and then how you've been able to now transition that into what, basically essentially another detailing business?
Yeah, so the Bays Car Supplies Warehouse, there are 2 separate businesses. And so Car Supplies Warehouse is the online store. The Bays is the retail, self-service, full service concept, right? So it kind of started off as just retail and self-service, and morphed into kind of a little more of the full service, because I think that's an important part of it too. And I really think there's something special with having all 3 combined. And so I have a business partner in the franchise business, which is the Bays. And he has been fantastic on onboarding some new shops. So we have Eric, who is a part owner of the Bays. He's going to be opening a location in Atlanta. Our first franchisee Jeremy is going to be opening in O'Fallon, right outside of St. Louis. And then we have another gentleman who's going to be opening up outside of Phoenix. So, we're opening those 3 stores, and I'm so excited for them to be opening, because they're opening like within a couple weeks here. Atlanta's opening a couple weeks, and O'Fallon's going to be June 1st. Um, and this is an exciting opportunity to prove the concept of what we're doing right here. So Ken, who runs all the franchise stuff, has his own location, Wheeling. It's been running for 2 years. Ken has over 100 self-serve members. Like, he has absolutely killed it with his location. He has a nice retail store. He has 100 members. They're constantly busy with the self-service, and he's doing full services as well. And he's concentrated a lot more on making the self-serve and full service work than I have, because I've been concentrating more on Car Supplies Warehouse, and I've had managers kind of back there, with the Bays. And we're doing well here, but you saw our location's a little tight. It's a little different. So Ken has actually 3 open like wash bays, and then he has like 6 or 7 like dry bays.
Is that where we had the G Technique reveal?
Yes, you were there. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's a giant warehouse with
huge
drains and water and power and all that.
I feel bad when people pull in here, because sometimes it's like a 7-point turn to get into the bay. It's kind of annoying, but that's why we're opening it up. I've seen what Ken has done with his, and that's why it makes so much sense for us to be able to, hey, get this warehouse out of here and open everything up to the bays. And there's something special with the community coming in and being able to use a facility like this. So it's so cool here at Romeoville. Like, we have a son and mother that come in all the time, and they wash their cars together. It's so cool. I have a gentleman every Saturday. He has 3 kids, small kids, like probably 5 to 9. Every Saturday he brings his kids, and they help. They clean the floor mats, they vacuum, they spray on the foam, they're washing, they're drying the car. And then he thanks me every time he comes in here. He's like, this is so awesome. This is my time with the kids to come in here and do this. And we've had so many stories like that. I had an older lady come in here, and she was probably in her late 60s. And she's like, I have never polished a car. I'm like, what made you want to come in? She booked the whole day. She wanted to polish the ceramic coat her car, and she's never touched a machine. And I'm like, so I jumped over there and I gave her the basics on how to run the machine, how to do all this. But, and I'm like, what made you do this? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I saw it, and I thought it'd be cool. And I'm like,
she's like, I saw this girl on YouTube.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. So
at the Bays, do they have the option to like hire a pro to teach them?
Not yet. That is something that we've been figuring out how to do. And I think that's part of the magic with some of the full service that's coming in here. Literally, like, imagine having a full detail shop in, like, this might be a nightmare for some people, but people could come in and use all that stuff to do it. There's something very special about the community of the people that come in here that want to take care of and maintain their car. And I think the full service fits in nice, because a lot of people want to do either washing or maintenance, or want to do that, but not necessarily apply paint protection film or window tint or ceramic coatings. I've had plenty of people who want us to polish it, and then they want to do the ceramic coating. And we do have kind of like a detailer guide kind of thing that we're going into, where somebody could work on one-on-one. A lot of the stuff is financially just making it work, right? Having somebody work with you, especially now, and having somebody that has the knowledge to do it, it's just not cheap, to hire somebody for the full day. And I don't think everybody wants to do it, but there are options out there. And what we find that there's just a lot of enthusiasts, even business professionals, who use this as their time to just blow off steam, to come in here and take care of their car, especially in an area like we're at, where you can't wash, 6 months out of the year because it's cold outside and it's snowing. And I think it's going to do just as well in a place like Phoenix, where you can't do it because it's so hot. You need to have that place that's climate controlled, that has all the equipment. People love the equipment in here. I think the biggest challenge that we have is the intimidation factor of coming in here and using some of the big machinery. A lot of people have never even used a pressure washer, so they're like, like, how do I do it? Like even just changing the tip or putting in the foam can. Yeah, that's the biggest intimidation factor. Even like, coming in here, a normal self-service car wash, you just pull up anytime, right? Here, you got to call, you got to make an appointment. There's limited availability with the space and everything. So I think there's still a lot to improve on with this model, and that's a lot of the franchisees that we have now. They're called alpha franchisees, and they are coming into this knowing that they are going to have a say and be a part of how this franchise ends up being built. And they're super excited about it too. So those guys have come in knowing that they're going to experiment a little bit with their location, and we're going to find out what works, what doesn't work, what we do more of, and what we do less of. And it's really exciting. I think there's a big future for the Bays. I'm a little biased, I
No,
guess, but
I'll be honest. When I saw it for the first time, I was like, this needs to be in every major city. Like this, in my opinion, this is the future of detailing,
yeah,
where we have a climate controlled environment where people can come and and I think it is nice to have the option. Maybe you have, let's say, a bay attendant, where someone is there to help you get set up, maybe go over some basics. If they have questions, that person doesn't have to be super experienced with detailing, but have someone at least knowledgeable, don't do that. You're going to kill your paint, um, and just for people to have the option to do it themselves or have someone maybe teach them a little, or a professional detailer can rent the bay. Maybe he's mobile. He doesn't have access to a garage to ceramic coat a customer's vehicle. The customer can drop it off there. He can do it and they can rent the space from you. I think that's like brilliant.
yeah.
It's the answer for so many people that are struggling.
Yeah, even temporarily, like over at the Wheeling location, which is Ken's, he has a full-time detailer renting a space out there. Here we've had window tinters come in and tint a car inside. Like I want to build an actual bay for window tinting, have peel boards on each side, have everything available for them, nice lighting. It is cool to have everybody come in here and
They're going to be fighting over it.
Space. Yeah, yeah, I hope so.
So you're doing mostly, you said polish, ceramic coatings, and PPF and like window tint out of the bays. Are you doing like, are you back to vacuuming? Are you back to like the grind of detailing, or are you just trying to do a little bit more of the more nice revenue driven ones?
Um, I have a gentleman. He was a manager at Chicago Auto Pros for several years, and he is doing a lot of the paint correction and coatings and like some of the interior details. We're not doing a whole lot of that. We got several customers that come in here for washes and stuff, and we'll do some interior, but we're focusing on the film, bigger jobs, ceramic coatings, and everything. But I'm open to doing any of those. So yes, I have washed and vacuumed a few cars. I have.
Did you miss it?
I've always missed it. I always like doing that, right? It's like I love touching and feeling all the new products and going through that. I've always enjoyed doing that. My newfound love is PPF. Like I've probably done in the last 2 weeks. I've done 4 cars in the last 2 weeks, and it's like, I've done a little bit here and there and kind of watched the guys and everything. But I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm getting pretty good, pretty fast, but I've watched a lot of, E-Man was with us for several years, and he is just a PPF god. And just, I feel like I've absorbed a lot of what he's done just by watching him do it. So, I'm really excited to do the film and get into that and touch it and feel it and do it. And so I have 2 cars here. I'm working late. Just before talking to you, I was doing a car. I got a friend who came over to help me with the front bumper, but just diving into it. That's what I've always loved, learning as much as possible, just diving into this stuff.
So did you design optical film?
We worked with the manufacturer
Okay.
to be able to get our specifications for what we like.
What makes optical unique versus some of the other PPFs that are on the market?
Not a lot. I mean, a lot of PPFs are
Cool
going to
box.
be the same. Yeah, not even a cool box anymore. That was a disaster. And we're actually waiting for our new printed boxes should be coming in the next couple of weeks, actually. But it is. I'm pretty proud of the PPF. There's been challenges, more than I'd like to talk about with manufacturing, with finding people who want to work with us. And I don't necessarily just want to work with a manufacturer and use the film that they have available. I want to be able to have that ability to change a couple things. So we literally just came out with a version 2 of our original film, which was Optical Defense. It was a lower tack film and works great in some climates, but the majority of people wanted a bigger tack. So they were able to add more adhesive and be able to get that film to stick a little quick. There's a bunch of tests that you do when you actually checking the tack of the film and going through it. And so we were able to test a couple versions, be like, yes, that's where I want it. And that's been great to work with a manufacturer on that level to be able to do things like that. But really what sets us apart is the brand of the community. And that's, again, with the Bays, it's the same thing that I'm trying to build with optical. I love seeing people successful, right? So if I can be able to provide them with film, and then, have training that goes along with it, have some of the business stuff that goes along with it, and be able to support them as individuals is exciting for me. Obviously, I'm an entrepreneur and I want to grow that as much as possible. I have lots of, I'm just getting some windshield film in too. And I love the building process. A lot of people have said, why are you doing this? There's so many other brands out there when it comes to paint protection film and this and that. And, part of it is me just wanting to take that challenge on as well, right? When people tell me I can't do things, I'm like, oh yeah.
Hold my beer.
So that's part of it. I like building that. I honestly love the brand, the optical brand, and having that creativity to kind of shape the look, the feel of a brand. Certainly still very new, on a lot of mistakes. And again, that's just what I like. I just enjoy the process of doing that. So
Humberto is asking, is the Bays also wrapping vehicles? I'm going to assume yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done any actual vinyl wraps or anything like that. But yes, paint protection film. I've done.
Is it an easy transition from PPF to wraps, or is it a completely different?
I think it's not completely different. I mean, some of it translates, but it is a little different. Yeah.
Do you feel?
I think PPF is definitely more challenging.
Do you feel like PPF is the direction that the industry is just naturally taking as the next advancement? Because I feel like, we went from waxes to then sealants to then ceramic sealants to then ceramic spray coatings to now ceramic coatings. Like, what's the next thing? Is it PPF? And do you feel like if you don't do PPF, you're going to be left behind?
PPF is absolutely getting more and more popular. It's in my mind, I considered, pretty popular right now. A lot of people still know it. I mean, there is a lot of people that don't know about it within the consumer part of it, but yes. Yeah, with color change, it's hard to tell where that's going. There were some talks of manufacturers of just saving money on their end by just painting all the cars one color and then doing aftermarket film and wraps and everything. Yes, there's certainly a progression with films. PPF is, I'll tell you this. My one regret is that I did not start installing PPF sooner because I really enjoy it. I spent a lot of time behind a polisher. I really enjoy PPF. I like doing it. It feels like it's a lot cleaner when you're working a little bit because you have to be very clean when you're doing this and stuff. I really enjoy it. I think there is still a lot of growth in PPF. I like it because it's a physical layer of protection on there. Where ceramic coatings sometimes get lost in translation of what they are. I still have to go through the entire spiel with all the customers that no, it's not scratch proof. Yes, you have to maintain it, and stuff like that. But I think people kind of get PPF a little more. It's that physical barrier that's able to absorb rock chips. And with the color PPFs, and you got some of the spray-on stuff that's coming out too. And it's always going to be evolving and moving forward. It's, if I could predict the future, that, you know, I'd probably be doing something different. But you know, what is coming next? I think PPF is continue going to grow. I think the color PPF. I think the installation is going to get. This is what I don't like about it, right? Because right now PPF is one of those things. This, and we saw this with ceramic coatings too, where you were able to kind of charge a premium price for these ceramic coatings, and that has gone down drastically because of the ease of use and the popularity of a lot of people getting into it. And that naturally is going to drive a market down. PPF is a little bit different because I think there's a lot of skills that people need to be able to apply PPF, especially a quality PPF. There are a lot of, and that's the scary part too, there's a lot of people getting into paint protection film. Paint protection film is
don't know what they're doing.
like, I can teach somebody how to detail and ceramic coat a car in 2 days, and they'll probably be pretty good. PPF is not like that. It is minimum 6 months to a year to get to a point where you can like really say, you know, or be proud of the quality job that you can do. You can still do it. I mean, there's a lot of patterns and ways to kind of like skimp on the quality, especially when you're starting, to make it easier. But you know, PPF is not easy. There's a difficulty level there that is a learning curve, which I think is very positive for the industry, and making sure that this is still something respectable where people can make a decent living doing, right? Because you even get into the car wash world, and I know that we're, you know, getting down a little bit, but like, you know, like ceramic coatings, it's kind of become like the race to the bottom, and it sucks, right? You know, everybody hears somebody or sees something on Facebook of somebody doing something that much cheaper. And I know most of us who do quality work are not going to pay attention to that anyways. And there's always going to be customers that will say, well, I'm just going to go here cheaper. But that's the challenge as business owners that we have to kind of get across. And that's a lot of reason why I did the videos. It's like, you know, just because you go to another shop and he says he's going to do a full ceramic coating for $500 and yours is $2,500, a lot of times they think it's the same thing because they're consumers. They don't know. They're like, well, this guy's doing a full detail and that guy's doing a full. It's going to be the same. This guy's cheaper, so I'm going to go to this guy. You know, getting the customers to understand that this is a very quality based business, and that guy is probably going to do a lot better and not cut corners where this guy is. And I think a lot of consumers don't learn that until they get burned by the guy who is cheaper. I mean, it happens so many times. Like, yeah, I went to a cheaper guy. I thought they were same, but I realized that there is a drastic difference in, you know, what a professional guy will do and what a Facebook marketplace advertiser is going to do.
Do you think PPF will ever become less expensive the way coatings have kind of become more affordable?
They already have. It already has.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
what's the average price where you're at for PPF? If people want like the whole front grille done, maybe their rear mirrors, side pillars, like what would that cost someone where you're at?
Like what most people get with a full front end of the vehicle is anywhere from, I would say, 18 on the low end. I've seen some people even do it for like 14, 11, some wholesalers, but 18 to like 32, 34, 36, especially on some of the very difficult trucks, or, you know, some of the very difficult cars or something with a clamshell hood. You know, you can definitely get into the, you know, just under 4,000 range doing the front, especially if it has a ton of pieces on the front, like grills and all that stuff. You know, it's the same thing in paint protection film. Like, you will have guys that I'm going to do the full front, and they just do all the painted surfaces. They don't do the accent pieces. They don't do the headlights. They don't do the marker lights, you know. So there's a big difference between doing, you know, just the painted hood, fender, grill, or hood, fender, bumper, and then doing the grill and all the accent pieces and all the little black pieces and all the little mirrors and headlights and fog lights and all that stuff. So there's a big difference in there when you're going to price something. So comparing apples to apples is very important as a business, to show your customer, like, listen, we're doing all these pieces. Like, if you're going to get other quotes, make sure that they're quoting with all of the accent pieces, all of the stuff that we're going to do on the vehicle. But I think naturally, yes. I mean, even the manufacturing process, I think anything works like this, right? You look at TVs, you look at computers, you look at technology, you look at whatever it is. It always starts at a really high price because the manufacturing process may be more expensive. As things get more popular, they're able to make things cheaper because now they can build the equipment necessary to be able to become efficient within the manufacturing process to bring that price down for the consumers. And the same thing, as PPF gets more popular, yes, it will naturally come down to some price. But I think I think it's pretty respectable where the price is now. And I think you have a labor factor that you just can't get away from. Unless they are making dry PPFs now where you can get a little faster. But there's a lot of guys out there that can do full front ends, in 4 to 6 hours and just knock it out, where some people are taking 2 days to do a front end. So labor is a huge factor when it comes into that too, as well.
All of that goes right over my head. I'll be honest. There's a part of me that wants to learn more about PPF. I don't think I'm in an environment where I would do it well. I don't have like a sterile environment. Working by yourself, I would imagine it can be done, but it's pretty tricky if you want to do PPF. Ideally, would you say you need multiple employees to do PPF well?
No, you don't do it. There's a lot of guys who just do it. I mean, I think the newest thing is PPF guys that are just subcontracting for a lot of other businesses, right? Because it is so hard to find that person, to train that person, to get them up to the quality standard. I think a lot of guys now are shifting into saying, "Hey, I'm just going to work for multiple shops and take a percentage," where they don't have to actually be on the customer facing side. They don't have to take all the phone calls. They don't have to do all the business stuff. They can just work for other detail shops and just show up and do the work and leave. And I think there's a lot of detail shops that want that too. Hey, I can be able to sell this job, get it in here and pay them whatever 30, 35%, and you collect your 70% and have somebody else do it or whatever it is. It's kind of easier. And as long as that relationship, you have somebody who can do good work, I think it's a win-win for both people. But generally, like if you're going to do it in a shop, you need a very clean space. You need a place that you well lit and stuff like that. You want it as clean as possible. So there is a lot of things that need to go into the shop part of it.
Let's talk Car Supplies Warehouse real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've hit on pretty much every topic. You guys are moving across the street. Is the retail shop going with you, or is that staying at the Bays?
The Bays. So it's kind of cool that we're going to see that separation now, because I think a lot of people see, the Bays and Car Supplies Warehouse is the same thing. It's not. It's totally separate. Car Supplies Warehouse is just the online store, and the Bays is the retail and the self-service and full service. So it's going to be nice to have that separation. So everything's staying here, just expanding as far as like the self-service and full service shop goes.
So as far as Car Supplies Warehouse goes, like you have amazing brands there already. Are you looking to onboard any new brands in the future?
I have a very long list of brands that I would like to carry. That's a challenge in itself of carrying it. Am I going to carry too much stuff? Is it not enough? I mean,
yeah, you don't want to be like an auto geek where you have every single thing under the sun.
I mean, but there are so many, like, we know this is a small industry. A lot of these brands or people that run the brands I'm friends with, and I want to support them as much as I can, right? And there are certainly some brands that I have on Car Supplies Warehouse that I probably shouldn't be carrying for financial reasons, but I want to support the people that are behind them. And so I do. There's a lot of people who reach out, a lot of people who want to have products and stuff, and this is what I'm learning is I started Car Supplies Warehouse because I wanted to have detailing, but I also wanted growth is always on my mind. So I didn't call it Detailing Supplies Warehouse for a reason. I called it Car Supplies Warehouse because I wanted to be maybe go into performance parts or anything like that. The same thing with the Bays. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It probably shouldn't. But
Keep it small, Jason.
yeah, I think, we brought on, film and plotters and equipment and everything. And honestly, I don't know where it should be or how big it can get. So I think I'm going to keep on bringing products in. We've dropped a couple brands. It's always, figuring out products is a weird world. Learning about it, learning about the different brands. But ultimately, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. And I have this theory, right? Like, there's detailers are weird, and I'm one of them. There's not a certain product line that I just like using, right? It's not like,
Yeah.
hey, my detail shop, I only use this product line strictly, right? We have different soaps we like. We have different towel removers, we have different ceramic coatings. I have different towels that I like, right? And so we kind of gravitate towards, hey, I like this brand for this product. I like that brand for this product. And everybody has their reasons why they want something. So I've had plenty of people that say, hey, I would buy from you, but I buy this certain product and this company has it. So I just buy all my products there. And I think that's very true, right? Like, I would do the same thing. Like, if there was a brand of wheel cleaner that I really liked and I use it constantly, well, if I'm shopping from somewhere and they don't have it, I'm just going to end up going to a different store. Like, they have everything. I don't want to order from multiple sites. So it's kind of, I'm going down that road too. So it's a battle with, like, how much do I carry or how much do I not carry? Because certain people just like certain products for whatever reason, and it doesn't really matter. So I want to have that availability. Do I need to have every single, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, because I saw you had a couple brands that you used to sell, but you don't anymore, which I totally understand. Not, if they're not performing. What would you say are your top selling brands at this moment, or your most popular ones?
Kosh Chemi is number one. PNS, Rupes, Rag Company, G Technic, all very big brands, and certainly there's a reason for that, because they're all great products,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, there's a lot of great brands. I'll find myself just grabbing sometimes just stuff on the shelf because I want to use it, maybe from a different brand.
Dark Dragon says, would he consider carrying brick and mortar available only brands, a
Yes.
la Pan and Detail Co.?
Yeah. I think there's, like, you get into the bigger, like, some of the biggest brands out there, like Ardex, Superior.
Don't tease me.
I know some of these. I mean, there's
Malco. No one ever sells Malco.
Malco is, it's huge.
They
It's
are
like,
like solid products that are
yeah,
very affordable. Even what's the one, Nanoskin? Like, they've been around for a long time. I wouldn't say they're like the best, but
yeah,
they perform really well and they're affordable. But there's just I feel like my biggest issue with some of these distributors, I feel like there's a flavor of the month. They bring on someone, it doesn't sell, and then you become like a big fan of it, you support it, and then it goes away, and you're like, "Ooh, ugh."
yeah,
And that's the annoying part, because there is so many new brands and new products popping up all the time, and everyone's like, let's give it a try. Let's see what sticks.
yeah,
Like, how do you know when a product is worth bringing on?
yeah. I've been guilty of that. Like,
I know, and you
it's
brought
new, it's
you brought on a
shiny.
couple brands because I was the only one doing it,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's not selling, Chelsea, and I'm like, but I love it.
For right now, my decision process is really just the people behind it. There are certain products and there's people that want me to carry their stuff, and I won't, because of reasons that kind of don't align with me, right? Like, I love people who are in it for the long run, who are in this and have started in the industry and are contributing to the industry, right? Because I feel like those types of brands are going to have the longevity, even if they're just starting out, or even if they're have a long way to go or not a very mature brand yet. I feel like those people behind the brand are willing to put in the necessary work to get the brand to where it needs to go. And so obviously performance is an important part, but a lot of it is, the people and their philosophy of business and how they're running it. And that's kind of how I started shoes. And there's several brands that I brought on the beginning where just literally I'm like, nobody else has this brand, so I'm going to be the only one. That was the only reason I brought it on. I'm like, I'm going to be exclusive. Nobody else has it. They can only get it here. But the problem with that is most people, that brand hasn't built the trust yet. And so it's hard for people to put that in their cart. And it's certainly reflected with the sales of a lot of those brands that are just getting started. So it took a while, but yeah.
Well, and I mean, I know that that's the idea you had behind the affiliate program, was to get those smaller brands. And I actually thought it was ingenious, like for you to bring on content creators, affiliates, to have in behind the scenes, like not many people probably even know, but you had like a brand of the month,
Yeah.
where you would have people creating content to educate and doing like a push on specific brands. And that's why I fell in love with Purist and Vonix. And then you took them away from me. You took Vonix away.
Yeah.
I'm still working with Vonix though, because honestly, I fell in love with their stuff. Do you
That's
still have
something we could probably
Purist?
do. Yeah. Purist I like Purist. It's one of these things that we started to do like a partnership, right? And I wanted to, because I believe that this is exactly what it is, right? As a reseller and distributor, like these brands are counting on us to represent their brand. And so with the affiliate program that you mentioned and these brands, I wanted to start like, hey, let's partner in some way. Let's get together with the affiliates and be able to contribute something to them, because every brand has a marketing budget. Let's figure out how we can utilize our system, our processes, and our people to be able to get some exposure to your brand. But you also go down that road of like bringing on too many things, and you have, you're talking about one product 1 month, and then you got a whole nother brand the next month, and I'm like, this just seems kind of crazy, and it didn't work, like with a couple brands, and it's just like it got overwhelming too, because there's so much planning that goes into it, and I felt like I wasn't being a good partner to some of the brands. And so really it's just thinking of like, it's really scrutinizing who we carry and who we bring on, because one, I want to be a good partner, and I want to do the work that goes into what's necessary to be able to bring exposure to some of the brands, especially the newer ones and stuff too. So yeah, I'm still learning a lot when it comes to, what to carry, what not to carry. And, do you carry everything in a line? There's some things that I've ordered that I've been really excited about that don't do well. And I've had the most amazing thing has happened. It's so weird. Like we will order products by mistake, or somebody will order something because they thought it was cool. And I'm like, one of the things was a seatbelt brush. Literally this blue Gator seatbelt brush. And I'm like,
it is good.
I was like, why did you order that? Who needs a seatbelt brush? This is the dumbest thing ever.
It works really good.
I don't know. People buy it. So I'm like, all right, the people have spoken. They want
it actually works really good.
Really? Yeah. But it's so many weird things like that. We've gotten so many things like, hey, we didn't order this. Well, let's just, instead of sending it back because it costs money and everything, I'm like, well, let's just put it on the site, see how it does. And it ends up doing well. I'm like, okay, that's something that I myself personally may not have picked, but because it's ended up on there, it's just kind of weird things like that too. So now I'm always open-minded. I'm like, all right, let's see how it does.
Adrian says, if I grow a sexy beard, will my sales increase?
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
Proven fact.
Dark Dragon, I was a little sad when Vonix was gone, but enjoy the rest of what they've got. There's a lot of people talking about Vonix. I think maybe you should bring them back. I'm just saying.
Possibly. That's always a possibility.
Adrian wants to know, what strategy have you implemented currently or in the past you felt was the greatest bang for buck? That's a very broad question.
I know. I'm trying to figure out what he's thinking about. Strategy implemented, greatest bang for your buck. I always think long term. It's how I think. I always, it's like, I always come back to YouTube, but that's a long-term game. It's a very long-term. It's not bang for your buck. I mean, strategy to bang for your buck was probably a good ad campaign. And I was so against this for many years, but I've been doing some ads lately myself and diving into it. I think absolutely anybody can do ads themselves. So I think your biggest bang for your buck, yeah, talk to Fred. Fred is doing some sort of ad campaign, and it's so important to get the actual content right on what it is. So the writing, the sales pitch, and in the small video or picture, whatever it is, that's so important. And then to set it up right to get it into the right people. Best bang for your buck. I mean, honestly, like if you've built up your email list, I mean, stay in contact. Your best bang is usually the customers that have already bought from you. You know, reaching out to them, and that's usually free. You know, you can talk to them, send an email, and just ask for referrals.
You just mentioned YouTube, you know, doing good ad campaigns, things like that, and marketing. What has it been like for you? Like, I can't imagine, like, when you told me that you lost access to your Cap YouTube channel, like, I cried inside for you because, like, I have 30,000 subscribers and that feels monumental. You had what, 225,000?
Yeah, 250,000. Well, that channel's not mine anymore. So, like,
I know that, but how do you go from that to
yeah,
now, like, and I'm not gonna say Cars Plays Warehouse, your YouTube channel doesn't have a great following. Like, you're not coming in at 0, you know?
I did. It got deleted. My car,
Okay, so you did start at
yeah,
0.
yeah.
Like,
During the transition,
how
my
has
channel got
YouTube been
deleted.
for you, like, rebuilding and now, like, coming in knowing a little bit more about the algorithm, and who can really know the algorithm, right? It's just like stabbing in the dark. But, like, what are some of the tips that you would have for people now coming in second time around growing a YouTube channel on how to do that well? Because I feel like that is what most people are looking to do. It's great marketing. Like, I'm getting so much business now from but just doing channels. I've had people call me from Michigan. I've had people call me from New York. They're like, my family's coming to Lancaster for vacation. I want you to do the car. We're going to rent a car. We're going to get, I'm like, there's at least 100 detailers between here and Michigan that could do a great job. I'm honored. I'm humbled, but I'm just like, that's the beauty of YouTube. Like, it
Yeah.
can create revenue. But like, what are some of the tips that you would say second time around growing a YouTube channel for those that are just looking to grow?
One, starting from zero sucks. It is so hard, so hard. I mean, because the hardest part is starting,
Yeah.
getting your first 100 subscribers, getting your first 1,000. I mean, it's so hard.
Do you feel like the algorithm treats you differently at this point versus, you know, higher subscriber numbers?
Yeah, well, one thing we had going when Chicago Auto Pros was starting the channel was timing.
Mm.
You know, it was, I will admit, much easier 8 years ago, 9 years ago to get some traction. It is kind of a flooded market now with detailing, so it's a little bit harder. But it is something that it is work. It is 100%. If you want to grow a YouTube channel, it is a full-time job. It is 100% a full-time job to get traction and to go. It is. I mean, I don't pay attention to any of the algorithm. Like, I just don't. Like, it
Did
is
you ever?
a little bit. Yeah, I've dived into it, but the stuff that I learned is literally just be yourself and make the content that you like. That's it. You know, like, you don't have a choice. I mean, personality, yes, there is a little bit to titles and thumbnails and when you do it, consistency. Of course, there's a little bit there, but all that's, if you do everything perfect, all that stuff, it doesn't overcome bad content. You have to
Mhm.
make good content. You have to, and even really good content, you can overcome some of the inconsistencies of thumbnails and titles and all that stuff. Like, you just, all it is making good content that people can relate to. That's it, you know. And try not to worry about all the other stuff too much, because, you know, descriptions or hashtags or other crap. I mean, it comes down to good content that people can connect to, and making that. But it is still hard. It's like, you know, I think we're at 10,000 now, and it's a grind. It's a grind. It's you know, I think Can you make a couple viral videos and get to there? Yes. I mean, you see some of these dirty channel or the disaster detail channels. They are working the algorithm.
Mhm.
They are working the algorithm hard, but I guarantee you they don't have as much reach as you think they do, right? When it comes to quality subscribers, you know, they may have a lot of subscribers, but they may not have the quality subscribers that convert into, you know, like anything that you're selling or doing, you know, because a lot of the YouTube stuff is built to convert in some sort of sales form. Even if it's entertainment channels, they're building to convert on ads, right? So people will pay them to put a sponsored ad. Hey, this video is sponsored by whoever this is, right? Those bigger channels that are doing the same thing over and over may not convert as well as even some smaller channels that are more specific or passionate or built on integrity or connection.
Adrian has a good question. With all the content, do you feel there is still a gap in YouTube content for detailing? It's a good question.
This, you know what? There's new drivers every day. You know, like that's the great thing. Like there are people, imagine like there's somebody 5 years old. In 11 years, they're going to be driving a car and just maybe getting into this YouTube stuff. So yes, I mean, it's always like, if you're going to get into it, there's always going to be growth, I think, in going to this. Is there a gap in there? I'm sure. See, that's the magic. You find the gap. You know, it's like we can sit here and say, like, we can't speculate on what the gap is until it comes out. And you're like, oh, that detailing news channel, that was a gap. I mean, if he continues to do that, he's going to do great. I haven't seen much come out from him. The Hold My Beer guy who has the.
No, I haven't. I actually love his channel.
Yeah, the detailing news. If he can continue that, that's a gap
Mhm.
that needs to be.
I don't watch a lot of YouTube detailing channels. I find now I mean I was like a dry sponge when I first started detailing.
Yeah.
But now I just one to stay fresh. Uh, I don't want to feel like I'm copying other people. You know, I find I am a visual learner and I emulate things that I see. So I don't, there are times like I'll do a closing on a video where I'm like, and we'll see you in the next season. I'm like, oh, that was Pan. I can't do that. You know, it's just like, but
Yeah.
like I'll watch his videos and then find myself like a little chameleon sometimes. So I find if I can just kind of stay with, but then I end up not being a good supportive friend because half my friends are like, did you see my video? And I'm like, I'm sorry. And it's okay if you don't watch mine either. Like we
I'm
support one another, but we don't watch one another. But I mean, there is a lot. And that Hold My Beer guy, he's actually one that I watch because it's a different take. It's fresh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like it and it's authentic. I actually tried to get him on the podcast. He said he might consider it. He hasn't shown his face yet. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep asking. I'm gonna keep asking.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
CS Auto Tech. We're shifting gears a little bit. We're going to answer some of the questions because we've been almost an hour and a half, and I know you probably have a job to do, and I want to get you home to Amy. Curious what Jason's thoughts on some of the current stuff like dry ice blasting, doing undercarriage coatings with heavy duty industrial spray on coatings like Fine Labs that's promoting. Is promoting super durable. You did dry ice for a while there. Are you still doing it?
Yeah, we still sell dry ice.
I mean, you put a lot of money into doing it, so you're probably doing it for the rest of your life at this point. It wasn't cheap to buy that, was it?
It was not. No, it was not. That's the one of the parts. It's not cheap to get into. Yes, I think there is a market for it. I think it's something that has to be like dove into, right? Like you're going to be a specialist in dry ice blasting, undercoating, restorations, stuff like that. And I think those are the most successful people doing dry ice. It's not one of those things because it is so expensive to get into, you use it every once in a while. It's not like a steamer or an extractor just to have it, you know, oh, when I need it, I'll turn it on, right? It's a process, the dry ice, you have to have it around. It doesn't really, it's not like you can put dry ice on a shelf and come get it in a month, it'll be gone. But I think there is, I mean, I've had I've done 3 cars here, and I'm never going to do it again here unless I have an enclosed space to do it in because it's extremely loud and it's extremely dirty. So if you have a dedicated space, if you have somewhere where you can do it and you focus on it, you could do very, very well. But I think it's something that you just have to focus on. You can't just do it every once in a while.
Do you feel like it's more for the restoration world?
It is. I mean, but there's a lot of clientele, especially if you're just, you market yourself as a undercarriage or dry ice blaster. There's a lot of, I do believe that there's a lot of people, because I've had probably 6 or 7 calls even in the last couple months, and I tell them no. I'm like, I'm not ready for it yet. I do plan on building a enclosed area with a lift that even people can come and rent the machine. But I'd want a training program for them to go to. Like, you ever go to like a go-kart place and you have to drive the fast go-karts, you have to sit down and watch the 5-minute video on how to do it and everything.
Yeah.
So don't hurt other people.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the same thing. Like, there'd be an hour-long tutorial on dry ice the machine and everything that you have to do before you could rent it out.
And a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, I really do. It's just kind of one of those things where the annoyance of the dirt and the mess when you're in a really clean spot, it's like, but I like it. I do. And it's like anything else too. Dry Ice Energy is working on some cool machines that are, handheld and stuff, like smaller machines, because there are certain areas where you get into the interiors and you're like, oh, that was much easier with dry ice, but it's not really worth the expense and everything that goes into it for just a certain type of fabric or a certain type of thing that you're going to clean in a car. With anything, they're tools, and if properly used or put into place, they can do very, very well.
So we've been all over the map with this conversation. I think, and this was the whole thumbnail, the whole point of it. You've got the Bays, you've got Optical, you've got Car Supplies Warehouse, you're rebuilding. Beyond that, what's next? Like you said earlier, you don't know if you'll ever be content with where you're at. Like, for you, if we were to dream big, what's the ultimate goal? Like, what's next for Jason? And do you feel like that will ever be enough for you?
I think it's starting to be, a lot has changed in the last couple of years, especially where my mindset has been. So I'm just going to keep on going. I'm excited for the next phase of working with people in a different way. The Bays is absolutely, I have 2 people working here who want to start Bays shops, and they are working here, learning everything they can from me to be able to do that in a couple of years. Right. So that's exciting for me.
I think it's the future. I honestly, I freaking love it. How much does it cost to start a Bays? I need an investor. That's just what I need.
Yeah. We have a franchise fee, and we have a 300-page, document that goes with it. There's a process that goes into it. But I mean, if you're looking for a price, I would say somebody can get into it for 150, 200,000. That's kind of almost, you get the right spot. You do have, if you find a spot and you have to do a lot of construction, it's maybe a little more, right? But there's some fees that go along with it. There's a build out, there's setup, equipment, product, and retail store and stuff. So, I mean, I think 150,000 to 200,000 gets you started.
There's a guy here in Lancaster that he's pretty wealthy and pretty involved in the car scene that I'm just like, #goals. We need to connect. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
we're
one day.
One of our franchisees is working with the SBA, going through the entire process. So that's part of, why he's an alpha franchisee is we're going through that process with him on how to set up with the SBA and getting loans for this, because not everybody's going to have that much money sitting around.
Yeah.
A lot of people will. But to be able to say, hey, we got a way to be able to work with the Small Business Administration and go through the process. And that's part of our job as the franchise owners, is to have a system and have a proof of concept that to show that, yes, you have the ability to make this much money a year once it's up and established and running. And that is going to be much easier to go to the SBA and get a loan to be able to say, hey, this is a proven concept. We have 5 or 6 stores that are already doing this. This is the business plan. This is the document that we use that states everything, the process and procedures. It's a proven concept. This is how many are working. This is how much they're making. And it should be a no-brainer if you go into that and go into the SBA and show them, like, hey, we've set this up several times, right? And that's the process we're going through now, right? We've done it. I'm doing it here. Ken's doing it very well. And now it's about bringing other people in and showing them how to do it. And that's the challenge. The thing is with anything, you can't go too fast, right? Like, we're establishers. So we have these that we're just opening up this year. And obviously we're going to do everything we can to support them and make sure that they're successful in doing this, and be right behind them. But yeah, that's the exciting part, because you can already see the vision, right? Okay, we're going to get these sets set up and get them working, and then we can start doing more. But it's like, you got to do step 1 first. So
Adrian says, can I open one and call it Bays AF?
yeah.
It's kind of funny. I don't think that would work. But who knows? Maybe give him another 150,000, he might consider.
Yeah.
Well,
what is AF? What are the initials of AF? Where could it be?
It's not Atlanta. That's already taken besides.
AF.
Well, for those of you that have been hanging with us, we've had over 50 in the chats. Thank you guys so much for your questions, for tuning in. The last question someone asked was, are you planning on having a creator summit in a year or two? And yes, that was an expensive endeavor, I can tell you. Like, I mean, I didn't have to pay the bills, but I know it wasn't cheap. What would you do differently if you were to do a creator summit again?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and honestly, I want to do something in 2026, in the early spring. So my thoughts around it is just bringing together creators, vendors, and the fans, right? Like, how can we create an event? And I think it was special. It was always special because it was the first time you're bringing a lot of people together that are meeting for the first time. And if anybody doesn't know about the creator event, it was just a event here that we held at Romeoville where we had a lot of different creators. And my thoughts around it were just to bring vendors and creators together to bring awareness to their products, right? So the vendors did pay to be here, and that was a part of the money to get the creators out, hotel and travel and all that other stuff. But it was a way for us all to get together and just kind of have that community and know that, hey, we're all in this together. We're all working together. So it was cool to have all competing vendors, and we're competing creators too, right? We're competing for people's attention. But to bring everybody together and just say, you know, we had some talking parts like, hey, what are you guys doing that's working, and being able to talk to it. I think that was a special part. But, you know, then we had the event where everybody could come meet the creators on the last day. I think it'd be something the same. I think we try to do way too much as far as content creation went, you know? So maybe
it was intense.
Yeah. So I don't really know. I don't have a perfect, I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but, you know, I think there is something there of just bringing creators, vendors, and fans together, especially for the love of detailing. And you have all these like industry events, right, that a lot of business owners are going to, and it's mostly very business professional, like, hey, vendors are trying to get them to use their product. But I think this is more like just kind of a fun, you know, get together for the love of detailing. And a lot of us creators are creating, I mean, it is our business, but we do it because we love it. And I think a lot of creators have brought people into this industry, a lot of the fans, and we hear it all the time from our fans, like, hey, you know, you got me into this. you got me into detailing or taught me how to do this. And that's cool to bring everybody together and just kind of celebrate that. So
I,
I don't
I
know. There
have
are some plans. I got some ideas, but
I have to thank you for doing the Creator Summit, for involving me in it, because I think it was a very impactful moment for me as a content creator, because I didn't feel like I had a little bit of imposter syndrome.
hmm,
Like, I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I felt like the weird one in the group. Like, everyone, I understood why they were there, what they were bringing to the table. And then when we had the meet and greet, and I no one had lines like Pan. I mean, they were like 2 hours long just to meet him. But when there was a 13-year-old girl and her dad there to talk to me and tell me, like, that she started detailing because of me, or to talk to other moms or other women, and to just be like, "You represent us." Like, it changed the way I create content, because now I could see their faces
yeah,
when I create, and it just helped it become more connectable, more relatable. And I think honestly that's about the time that my content and my channel started to just become more me. I don't know. So thank you for that. That was
yeah,
honestly just one of the most amazing experiences. So
yeah. And
even
you
if you
got to
never
see
do it again, I will always cherish that time.
that we're all just the same.
We're all just unhinged, filming ourselves with our phones.
Yeah.
Little weirdos out there, but thank you so much. But
Yeah.
Uh, I uh I hope you nothing but success, honestly. I think you're going to do even better this time around. Between the Bays, between Car Supplies Warehouse, surrounding yourself with the right people this time around, and there's something to be said about being able to learn from your mistakes and to grow stronger. That says a lot about your character. So, I'm proud of you, Jason. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Jason, for being more vulnerable, for sharing with us some of the things that you've learned through all this. I know it was very painful, very humbling, and I can't wait to see what you have in store the next few years. So, all right, guys. Jason, if people want to find you, where do they go?
Jason at carsupplieswarehouse.com is my email. Check out Car Supplies Warehouse. Go to Optical, Facebook, pretty open. You can find me there. Yeah.
YouTube channel, Car
Car
Supplies Warehouse.
Supplies Warehouse, yeah.
Are you ever gonna do the bays?
Yeah, we have a Bays channel.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
Make
it.
sure you guys subscribe. I know a lot of you were Chicago Auto Pros fans, and you probably didn't even realize that they weren't putting content out there, because for some reason, like, people don't get notifications, and it's just like object permanence. They're like, I
Yeah,
forget.
yeah,
Make sure you go to his channels, subscribe to all of his new channels. Let's get his subscriber numbers back to where it was. Please, this man deserves it.
yeah.
You're a legend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And we will see you guys next week. I'm excited. We're going to have Reggie from Labo Cosmetica on. We're going to be doing a deep dive on Italian made products, finding out a little bit of the ins and outs of their brand, their products. So make sure you guys tune in. Really excited to have him on and geek out. But Jason, have a wonderful night. And you guys, we will see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at the House of Rags. All right, guys, we'll see you later.